Uh,
Good morning, Jabs. How are you doing?
Ngiyaphila nani kunjani wena?
Siyaphila, Nkosi. Today, I saw a clip and I thought, you know what, you and I are going to have a conversation. You need to make me understand what was going on in your mind when you were clipping this and writing all those notes on that clip. So that is why we are here today. Before that, let me greet my people. Hi, guys. How are you guys doing? Today, we have Ubunjabsi, Unjabula Gasisfeti. We have him here. He's going to break down something for us, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you make what you can make out of what we are going to be discussing here today. Thank you. Over to you, Jabs.
Yes. Hi, Noni, and your fans, Noni. You know what? When you sent me the clip this morning, I'm like saying, no, Ali, you started again. But um, people need to understand that a cell phone forensic a process. It's a very expensive process to do.
Mhm.
And for you to do it, you need to be trained correctly for you to be trained to qualify for you to do that. Noni, I can tell you that I am a certified Celebrate Mobile Forensic Examiner.
Okay.
I am also a certified technical counter surveillance measures, basically.
Oh, okay.
I am also certified to do offensive tracking of of people or anything, installation of GPS to track and everything like that.
All right.
Now, that's that's some part of the things that I do. Besides, the other things I think they're not for this channel. So I'm
Wait,
going to
wait, before you move. I love what you just explained, and I'm giving you an opportunity here on my channel because it sounds like a business venture of some sort. I want you to take time, even if it's a minute or two, explain to people, do you have a company for this? Can they reach you? What can they do? Or you are going to give me links where or emails where they can send you emails if ever they want any of those services. Let's do that.
yeah. No, thanks, Noni. I think it's I am a consultant, so
Mhm.
we do assist companies in terms of risk management. That could be when we say TSCM, people they always call it a sweeping. You see, before the president can come, you sweep to try and find any listening devices. So that process is in line to protect a company's strategic objectives from any possible corporate espionage, data leakages, and the list is endless. So that is dotted line linked only to what people now generally are calling it cybersecurity. So we do a
Okay.
lot of those things, but the main focus was we look at cell phone forensics, and that's the core that we do as well as sweeping.
Thank you so much,
Wow.
guys. That's where you do, and I want you to understand what Jabulo does. So, should you need for your company, because I know I've got people, Jebs here. The reason I was saying go further there is because I know I've got people here who are big and who are doing big things in there, and people that own companies. So, if ever any of you guys is looking for such assistance or consultancy, please do reach out to me via my email. Then I will link you with Unjabulo so that you guys can talk business. I thought that was very important to do for Unjabs because Unjabsi is also assisting us and our channel. Thank you. Now let's go back to our business.
Yes. Thanks, Sonny. Let me while I'm trying to share the screen,
Mhm.
can you see my screen?
Yes.
Before before we play the clip,
Mhm.
I want you to play this clip.
One of the oldest phone tracking methods already worked in the pre-smartphone era. Triangulation works with angles and measures the signal strength of different cell towers to a phone. If at least two towers are within reach at the same time, the rough location of the phone can be calculated. The more towers are within reach, the more precise the result. And if the target is a modern smartphone, trackers can use a similar, much more precise process called trilateration. This method works by calculating the distances from different cell towers using the time of arrival of the different signals. Conveniently, newer phones might even include their exact GPS coordinates in a response to the cell tower, which makes any calculations unnecessary. Usually, only telecommunication companies have access to the cell tower data, and there is no way to hide from this kind of tracking as long as a phone with a registered SIM card is powered on. Edward Snowden explained it during a 2021 discussion with the Electronic Frontier.
Yes. Noni,
Yes.
very good to introduce to people because we have seen a Vodacom person, Pinky Vitaly, coming to read out the information. You heard on, they were saying that there's no, as long as you have this, there's no way that you can vanish. There's no such thing as that. Now, what then is that, why that is so important? It's important because people need to understand that at any point in time, the state can track and trace you. And you may not even be aware that the process is currently happening. On that clip that I played you, I was just saying, Stein, you're a forensic expert, and Brigadier Kininda Zungu is in the center of your evidence. Now, what is stopping you, Brigadier, because Zungu was using a company vehicle, which is installed with AVL. If Zungu was on standby, he may have been using a cell phone, which will be a company SAPS cell phone, that will have actually printed out the itemized billing. Now, Noni, I started having problem with your screen is moving.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just moving. It's
okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. So yes. So now it became a problem for me to understand because now both Brigadier Kininda could have said, for me as a lead investigator to trust your evidence, let me present your AVL, or it should have cooked Zungu's AVL at least, and then cooked Zungu's cell phone record, basically. Then they say, then they say, oh, Zungu's AVL is here, and then his cell phone polling towers is also here. Then we'll have needed us to go deeper to actually disprove that cooking. But you see, when a junior chef are trying to cook for the Michelin star chefs, this is what happens. That's pure hogwash. That is why, Noni, I'm very careful in the use of words allegedly and everything, because for me, I'm an analyst. I take information that comes from court, put it on a timeline, try to use approved standards of doing the same process that Stein have went through. And then definitely I'm getting different results. So I'm easily qualified to say, Stein, you are lying. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the clip that, because we're paving a way for the actual clip, let me just stop sharing it. I'm not sure what I did. Because we're paving a way for this actual clip that I needed to play for your fans.
Yes, you may proceed.
I further proceeded with the same process in respect of the Nokia N8, but the cable extraction process failed to extract the data from the device because the cellular phone software was not compatible with the XRY software and could not read the data.
Ngase ngiqhubeka ke ngaleyo nqubo leyo ke ngokumayelana nayo ke iNokia N8 kodwa-ke i-cable lena eyasetshenziswa-ke ayizange iphumeleleke noma ikwazi-ke ukuthi ikwenze noma itholeke imininingwane noma i-data kuleyo cellphone, ngoba-ke leyo cellphone leyo i-software yayo yayingahambisani noma ingahambelani nayo-ke i-software ye-XRY, okusho ukuthi-ke ayizange ikwazi-ke ukuthi ifunde noma ithole imininingwane kuyona.
To whom did this device belong? The device belonged to Ms. Zandile Khumalo.
Yona-ke leyo phone leyo iNokia N8 kwakuyifone yakhe uZandile Khumalo.
As per Exhibit O in brackets 4 in brackets C.
So, Noni, that is Maba. Is it Captain Mushwana explaining the downloads? Remember now the phones are handed over around 12 midnight.
Yes.
Can I just pause the video 1 second, Noni?
Okay.
So that I can stand. Because I'm seeing that not sure how is it now. Is it okay now?
That's fine, yes.
Yeah. So what then happens, Noni, there is that Captain Mushwana is explaining the process of how the downloading is actually taking place.
Yes.
Now, one of the phone, when they mentioned the issue of there was a Nokia N8, which belongs to Zandile Lorraine Khumalo.
Yes.
Now, yes, he's saying that that phone he was not able to download because he says that he makes a story. Then on my argument, I'm saying, but wait a minute. Anyway, there is no way that you, the N8, Nokia N8 at the time was not yet using Android. It was using a Symbian operating system. So a Symbian operating system was like a iOS, a software that was used for Nokia phones. So Nokia phones moved from Symbians to Windows and then Android.
Yes.
Yes. Now, that for me was disturbing. Hence, I said that there's no download, there's no forensic work that was done on these phones. Because if there was forensic work that was done on these phones, then they will have actually went for what we called logical download. Even though XRY does offer a process of which you can select what you want, they've been vocal for us to tell us that in terms of their downloads, they've only been doing incoming calls, outgoing calls, messages, as well as pictures. Now, then how is it possible that now they start to talk about applications? You see, Noni, that's why I'm saying that the download sheet that they talk about, they clear call record, SMS, and pictures. There is no way that they will have downloaded application, because when you download the application, on the forensic side, you choose a particular, you can only get access to application on two things. One, if you do what we call a logical extraction or a physical extraction. Now, logical extraction, it's like it's a quick download of your cell phone. We just get the instance. We first do that when we have an exhibit. You first do a logical extraction so that you have something. Because if you go physical extraction might take longer, And also, if you're dealing with information for people who are specialists, your file, your system, your file system might crash during that process. So that's why that we always do that. Now, the fact that there's no way that there's nobody that told us that they downloaded applications. You see, with Mushwan, nobody does that. Census phone, okay, they say they didn't download. Let's just say Kelly's phone that was downloaded and Dumen. Nobody tells us that the BlackBerry, Kelly's BlackBerry and the ZTE phone, because clearly it appears as if the police had two phones of Kelly that were downloaded. Because later on they talk about ZTE, but in the beginning they talk about the BlackBerry. So if two phones of Kelly that were stolen, so it means on the day Kelly had three phones.
Okay.
Yes. So now that's how technical these things become. Because now because you're trying to understand what Steyn is saying. Steyn says, and also Mushwana on the clip, it does say the V50 ZTE phone, ZTE 93 something phone as part of the phones that were downloaded. He also then linked that phone to a call that was made to accused number 5. Ne? Now, that means that now that phone, according to Steyn, he says that it was having the number that has the 85 of K. So if ZTE was wearing that number, was having that number on the phone, now what does that mean on the runaway phone? The runaway phone that may have had the 072 number. But then according to Steyn, the 072 number was not the actual runaway phone, basically. But it's just a lot of confusion around that, because when Steyn starts his evidence, he starts saying there is one phone which is registered as Kelly Booking. That phone remained off the previous day. On the 25th, it had last received a call from Adama Fugat for booking. That's when now on the 26th, Kelly and Zandi went to Dorothy Park and everything to go and do that performance. Yes. That's the account of Steyn with the Kelly Booking number that is saved like that on them on a true call. But what is absent on that is that they only telling us about 2 of Kelly's numbers. That's one. But then also indirectly, they've spoken about 3 cell phones that belongs to Kelly. It's a runaway phone that was stolen. It's a BlackBerry, as well as the ZTE. Now, when you listen to Pinky Vitalingham's evidence, he only talks about Kelly and Senzo driving together the day before, on the 25th. They went to Melrose Arch, they went everywhere. But the phone that is in question, that they say that it was with Kelly and Senzo that were pinging at the same location, it appears to be a BlackBerry phone.
Okay.
Yes. But then now, at what point did Kelly swap the BlackBerry into ZTE? If then that is true, at what point then did Kelly started using BBM on a ZTE phone, on an Android phone, to communicate with accused number 5? Now, do you see, when you're sitting down to try and analyze what people are saying? That is why I can tell it's either there's no forensic work that was done, otherwise everything they said in that court is a lie.
Wait, before we move from that, so which phone was accused number 5 that they are saying he was using?
No, they're not specifying on the type of phone that number 5 was using.
Which is also very dodgy.
Is because now Steyn talks about, when Steyn broadly talks about the 2 calls, the one on the 2nd and the one on the 14th.
Were they not supposed to tell us which phone was that?
No, they're supposed to tell you, because with any service provider, you see the clip I played you, the first clip. It says that the network provider will have your cell phone number and the IMEI number, which then the IMEI number is a unique identifier on the type of phone that you are using.
Okay.
So now, having said that, I'm going to put this thing on silent. So having said that, now you see now that the story of the phone is out, and they've not even also addressed the process of how you deal with this, with the cell phone exhibit. Because the cell phone exhibit that were handed over, according to Colonel Netling, as well as Mushwana, that they started downloading the phone around 12 midnight. You understand? But when we go deeper, when Pinky comes, when the phones are already taken for forensic, you put them in something called Faraday bag, you understand? Or you wrap them through with the foil so that the phone does not constantly communicate or send a network, communicate with the network, because that will change the status of the phone. Because if I've given you a phone, Noni, with the last call from me, now all of a sudden, now your phone, you handed over the phone at 11 o'clock. Now you're being told when you're reading the evidence and saying, wait a minute, you now have a phone, you now have a call that you received at 12 midnight. And say, but how? Because I didn't have the phone here. So how could I have answered this call? So that means now the integrity of that exhibit has now been tempered. It cannot be trusted.
Okay.
Yes. So now the forensic steps is that you need to preserve the chain of custody. Therefore, you either need to wrap the phone on a Faraday bag or wrap it with a foil if you've got limited resources, basically. Because a phone being off does not mean that it doesn't communicate, because a phone, it's off to your eyes. But the phone has also an emergency battery that can still connect, can still do things in the background.
This is Education 101. I didn't know that.
Yes. It only becomes off once you separate the two things. Once you remove the battery on the side and then the phone to be on the other side.
Nancy Kolyam, Fika. Hello.
So yeah. So that's very important that for all the while none is actually out, it's very important that we deal with the process of collecting exhibit, because the fact that they don't go deeper in the process, it definitely means that they have some things to hide. It definitely means that there's nothing that existed around that. So for me, that is why that I will never be in a position that I could trust any technical information that has been reported on this case, because I do not believe that the chain of custody was preserved. Now, if then we move from two levels now, we've now gone through to level one is how you need to preserve the exhibit. Then level 2, now that you have the exhibit, that's something that they spoke about, that you connect your USB port to a device, a XRY device, and you activate the debugging.
It's in 8 minutes,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that process, it's like, it means nothing if you have not preserved the actual exhibit correctly.
Okay.
And then also that process means nothing if you go into the exhibit with selective information. So no need, all I'm saying that at no point in time that the state, in this case with relating to 636, they can comment about photos, they can comment about applications that are installed in a phone, because those two things were never part of the scope of their download. The moving of photos, you know what they did? They just mirrored. They just connected the phone, move photos, copy a file photo. That is why you find hosts talking about a file called DCIM, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. He could not understand what does that mean. That DCIM, it means data center. No, I'm lying. Jesus. It means digital camera image folder, basically.
Okay.
DCIF, basically. Now, when you look at, when a person talks about that file, it means that he connected your phone. He went on a phone as like a note on your my computer, whatever things. Click on the phone, access the phone, then sees the folder in the phone, and then copy from the phone and move it to the laptop. So once you do that, it's not forensic, it's mirroring. Now you lose the actual metadata, because if you do forensic, you copy the phone with its hash file, some things that are there for authenticating whether this file that I have here, it's indeed from this phone. That will also have metadata, GPS coordinate, if I've activated location on my phone is active. All pictures that you took, you can see them easily. Where is it? Have you been, you see when you scroll through your phone,
Yes.
you see something, it categorizes your pictures by locations.
It does, yes.
Yes. That's the GPS coordinate that is embedded on the cell phones, basically. It's
there is something else that Google does. I don't know if other people get that. You will be walking around or going somewhere, and then you will get a message that says, "This is where you've been."
Yes. So yes, that's even on the navigator or something. It's a history. So what people don't understand is that, like, now every day now we're creating our digital history. So we have our digital history that we keep on adding it every day. So I'm sorry to say, non-your fans, I don't have positive things to say, but I can tell you without contradicting myself is that any cell phone evidence that is presented in Reuters court, it will not hold the credibility standard that is required for a criminal case. So therefore,
was it tampered?
I can't even put it to the tampering, because they didn't even get there to the level of collecting the evidence correctly. So the evidence was not collected correctly. The evidence doesn't look like evidence. How do you preserve something that was not even collected?
Also, the other thing I wanted to ask, judges, do they get training in order to understand this kind of evidence? Do you know anything about that?
Think about this. Mostly judges, they lawyers before they become judges. So it's either they may have become a defense lawyer, or they may have been a prosecutor. So, and those during their practicing times, they may have actually, it's entirely up to the lawyers to educate them in the field that they're dealing with. Yeah, so the education, yes, they should be familiar with things. That's why you see Rata is always talking about striations and all these forensic things about guns. Because he actually borrowed the book from Rolofse. He said, "Can I borrow your book?" So now that becomes a problem, because part of my profession, Noni, is I'm a certified project manager.
Yes.
They always say that if you're a project manager, you cannot be a subject matter expert because you tend to be biased towards a particular narrative.
Oh, okay.
It's just logic on business. So you can't be. So I'm a programmer as well. I'm a developer as well. But you know what? When I run infrastructure project, even though I could be for Huawei product, I could be for HP product, but you know what? I try not to intervene with I allow the subject matter expert, like your technical lead, to actually guide me. I can just comment if there's something that I need to do. So that is why now you see me saying that Rata is moving towards biasness, because he reads what the state gives him and he trusts it.
Which is wrong.
Because, well, I don't know. You only have 2 minutes. You can ask.
Last question that I wanted to ask. When it comes to cell phone evidence, Jebs, ne, people have been sentenced because of cell phones. Ne? People have got off scot-free because of cell phones, right? We do have cases where, let's say in this case, scenario of the Senzomiwa case, when it comes to the cell phone of I choose number 3, for instance, it does show where he was, when, and what time, and then he went to the flats, and then at 8:20 he slept. So does that mean it shows us people that are listening and checking out, it shows us that he was never at the crime scene, especially during the time 5 o'clock up to 7 or 8 o'clock, he was never there. It shows us that. Then Rata came with this thing of, no, what if it was just the cell phone, the person was there. But if we have people that, yes, 1 minute, if we have a person that has been found guilty because of their cell phone, Rata can come to us. I'm going back to what we were saying. He's becoming biased if he's going to be like that. Anyway, thank you so much, Jabs. We are going to come back with I want us to go and look into the evidence of Upinki. There are things there. Yes. Thank you, guys.
No problem. No, thank you. So that cell phone of number 3, no, just to tell you straight, is that there's no evidence about him. There's no work that was done, because if work was done, they would have known that he was not around the crime scene. So therefore, remove him from the case.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye, Jeffs. We'll come back with another video where we are talking about